What's really important is when you wake up in the morning and that you have enthusiasm and you're ready to go. And that's the state that I like to think of, that you've always got, you feel positive, that there's a future ahead of you. And so that you're not physically constrained. I think those are, certainly as you get older, the risk that you're going to get a chronic degenerative disease is so high, and that becomes limiting. But then you've got the mental side that can be limiting. So it's really both. You must combine the two. You must be physically strong and largely disease free, but then you must also have the mental capacity to enjoy life and look forward to it and be enthusiastic. Like health is something you only realize when it's gone. That's when you realize that gosh, I took it for granted. So I certainly don't take it for granted anymore that you wake up every morning and you feel ready to go and that everything's working perfectly. But that's the state that you're looking for. And I think another point. As you get to my age, you want to die perfectly. You have to have a perfect death, and you need to build up to that, because I mean, my father's illness, and that influenced me greatly. And I never wanted to put my own children or grandchildren through that. I want to wake up dead one morning, and that's the way to go. But it takes effort to get there. And if you do that, if you can delay your incapacitation for as long as possible until your last moment, that's the ideal. It's the one where you go to bed at night and you don't wake up the next morning. That's the perfect death. And that you don't have a long debilitation. I think that's one of the keys, is this long descent that you get. And there's no doubt in my mind that descent is driven by chronic disease, obviously. So you've got to stop the chronic diseases, or you get them so that you don't have major symptoms and disability. Disability is the issue. I was very active at schools, but sport and endurance exercise was never an issue. And then I very fortunately got into endurance sports for many years and was very active and very fit and very healthy. Then, unfortunately, that was the time of the high carbohydrate, promoting the high carbohydrate diet. And unfortunately, I turned out to have severe insulin resistance. And so that this eventually, within a few years, I could tell that there was something wrong, but I didn't know what it was. And I thought it was just aging. And then ultimately, after 33 years of promoting this high carbohydrate diet, I eventually converted, fortunately, by reading the book by Eric Westman, The New Atkins for the New You. And that was the life changer for me, because I realized that everything I'd been saying was wrong. And I've very quickly realized, as I changed my diet, that all the symptoms I'd been developing over 20 years had suddenly disappeared. So I had this miraculous recovery, and then I discovered I had type 2 diabetes. And so then I understood what my problem was. Here I was trying to be very active, but profoundly insulin resistant, eating a high carbohydrate diet and suffering the consequences. And then when I took the carbs out, I became very healthy. And that's pretty much when we met. And since then, I say I should be dead now. I'm talking to you from the grave because my father had his diabetes for 10 years and then was crippled by it and died. And I've had my diabetes, which is in remission, fortunately. I've had it for well over 10 years. And currently, I don't have any overt symptoms that I'm aware of. So I'm not suggesting that I'm never going to get the symptoms or the clinical picture of type 2 diabetes, the complications. I'm not claiming that. But so far, I put it off for 12 to 14 years, which is pretty miraculous. As I said,